The cafeteria of Celestial Academy fell silent as Ziraeth walked through the entrance. The Valkyrie girl kept her head down, her luminescent blue skin muted by stress, the crystalline scars across the left side of her face catching the fluorescent light in jagged patterns. "Look, it's fractured face," someone whispered loudly enough to carry. Laughter rippled through the crowd of mixed species. Arconian nobles with their sleek scales, graceful Theshan telepaths, even a few Carwylel warriors who should have known better. Ziraeth's steps faltered. The scars were from a mining accident that killed her parents, the explosion that had shattered the crystal lattice of her facial structure. On Velkar, such scars were considered deeply shameful, a visible sign of imperfection in a culture that prized flawless symmetry. Her own people had sent her away to this mixed-species school, unable to bear looking at her. She moved toward an empty table in the corner, trying to ignore the stares and whispered comments. "How did something so ugly even get admitted here?" a Theshan girl said, not bothering to lower her mental projection. "I heard her own family abandoned her," an Arconian added. "Can you blame them?" Ziraeth's hands trembled as she set down her tray. The food suddenly looked impossible to eat. She was about to flee when footsteps approached her table. "Mind if I sit here?" She looked up to find a human boy standing there with his own lunch tray. She recognized him vaguely. One of the Earth Exchange students, maybe 16 or 17 standard years. Dark hair, warm brown eyes, and an easy smile that seemed genuinely friendly. "This table is empty," she said quietly. "There are others." "I want to sit here," he said simply, settling into the chair across from her. "I'm Elijah, by the way." "Eli." Around them, the whispers grew louder. Humans were the newest species to join the galactic community, still considered primitive by many standards. What was this human doing, sitting with the scarred Valkyrie? Eli ignored them completely, opening his lunch and starting a conversation about the upcoming astrophysics exam, as if they were old friends. Ziraeth found herself responding hesitantly at first, then with growing comfort. He didn't stare at her scars. He looked at her eyes when he spoke, laughed at her jokes, asked her opinions on things. For 20 minutes, she almost forgot about the crystalline fractures on her face. Then the Arconian boy, Velrun, one of the worst bullies, approached their table with his entourage. "Careful, human. You sit too close to that and the ugliness might spread." Eli's expression didn't change. He simply stood up, walked around the table, and stopped directly in front of Ziraeth's chair. "Do you know what humans think about scars?" he asked, his voice carrying through the now silent cafeteria. "We think they're beautiful. Every scar tells a story of survival, of someone who faced something terrible and lived." Before anyone could react, Eli gently cupped Ziraeth's face in his hands and pressed soft kisses along the crystalline scars. One on her cheekbone, one near her temple, one at the corner of her jaw. Not romantic kisses, but something deeper, reverent, honoring. Ziraeth gasped, her bioluminescence flaring bright blue with shock and emotion. On Velkar, such an act would be unthinkable, touching someone's shame so deliberately. Eli stepped back and turned to face the stunned crowd. "Where I come from, we have a saying. Scars mean you survived. They mean you're stronger than whatever tried to destroy you." He looked directly at Velron. "So yeah, I think she's incredible. And anyone who can't see that, you're the ones with the problem, not her." The silence stretched. Then, slowly, a Krll warrior stood up from her table and began the deep rumbling that her species used for approval. Others joined, not everyone but enough. A Theshan projected warmth and agreement. Even some Arconians looked ashamed. Velrun retreated, his entourage melting away. Eli sat back down across from Ziraeth, whose eyes were shimmering with unshed tears. "Sorry if that was too much," he said quietly. "I just couldn't stand there and—" "Thank you," she whispered, her hand touching the scars on her face as if feeling them for the first time not as shame, but as something else entirely. "On my world, I am broken. But you were never broken," Eli said firmly. "You're a survivor, and that's something worth celebrating." For the first time since the accident, Ziraeth smiled, a full, genuine smile that made her bioluminescence glow like starlight. And in that moment, she began to believe him.